Episode of Best Bets Show here on the Field of 68, powered by BetRivers. We are the three-man weave crew ready to guide you through a hump day Wednesday slate. Pretty solid set of games tonight, including a big headliner in the SEC. But Kai, before we get to it, I'm going to go to you first. Mr. McEwen, what did you see last night? What stood out to you as a takeaway from Tuesday?
Well, the Providence-Creighton game rocked, guys. I don't know if you watched it, but fantastic. I know Matt was busy on a Valentine's Day date.
No, I was not. Tonight, actually, we're doing Valentine's Day the day after. Like,
look at
cool,
you. Did you forget to do
couples.
reservations yesterday? Is that why?
They're all like the 3-course minimum spend thing, so we thought tonight would just be a better situation. Yeah, we'll discuss it when I get to my takeaway, but go ahead, continue.
Very nice. Anyways, double overtime game. The dunk still has magic. It was fantastic. The Mizzou game, less cool. We don't have to talk about that very much, but Mizzou, whatever, still in the tournament.
They didn't play. They did not play last night. Didn't play last night.
Matt, your takeaways.
Yeah, Mizzou was screwed when I saw they tagged this show. I believe me prefacing Mizzou going into the jungle, and then of course just never actually went. They just never got off the bus. Tough effort from your Tigers. Yeah, home court Big Ten. I was on Michigan last night and was also on Illinois. Felt really good about both those games. Turns out home court's worth 10 points at this point, Jimbo. So a reminder to slap me right here, preferably when I take another road Big Ten team for the rest of the year. Good thing there's not many left as we approach the madness of March, Jimbo.
We got one tonight. Your Hoosiers. Can't wait to discuss them
and
later.
I'm going to bet them. I bet them.
Yeah, Matt, that Penn State game, I don't think I've seen a better individual performance than Jalen Pickett that game. 41 points, 8 assists, like just had Illinois in the torture chamber. Every time he had the ball, they're like, do we double? What do we do? He's backing us down. Oh, he made a 3. He kicked out for an open 3. Like they could not guard him, had absolutely no response. And they've got guys I figured could guard him. Shannon, Meyer, some of the freshman guards could put bodies on him. No chance. Really, really impressive stuff from Pickett. Providence is tough as nails. And I have some real concerns about Kansas State, fellas. We're going to talk about that in the 3-Man Weave podcast later today. But not great vibes out of them right now. But let's look ahead. Look forward to tonight. Alabama, number 1 in the country, headed to Tennessee. They've lost 2 in a row, Kai. Kind of a strange spot here in the SEC. Tennessee with 2 buzzer beater losses in a row. But now they're favored. -3 at home against Alabama. The total's been hammered up 5 points. People are all over that. How do you see this game playing out?
Injury status is the first thing, Jim. I think we have a little bit more clarity on that now, but Bediako, questionable for this game for Alabama. Then you have JJJ and Phillips on the other side for Tennessee. Sounds like Josiah Jordan-James is not going to play. Sounds like Julian Phillips might, though, still. So right off the bat, got to know your injuries. Tennessee off back-to-back losses. Vanderbilt, Mizzou. Not a great look, Matthew. And Alabama's obviously rolling, the number 1 team in the country. This spot is all Tennessee. And they can absolutely win this game. They have fantastic defense. You got to hope Alabama's not white hot. They won't allow them to score inside. They won't allow them to get second chances. They can go toe-to-toe athletically and physically with this Alabama team. Alabama's defense has been crazy good in SEC play. I'm not sure it's as sustainable as what it currently is. Teams are shooting 21.9% from 3, 39.7% from 2. Those sound just very, very, very extreme. I know this team is awesome athletically. It's just too much. In Knoxville, ultimate spot, I lean towards the Vols, Matt, even at -3.
Well, yeah, you talk about the potential regression variance monster coming. I think you have to mention on both sides. This is actually the battle between the number 1 and number 2 3-point percentage defenses in America. I wonder if that's part of the over money. The opener was shaded up 3 points from KenPom's number at 140, opens 143. Now it's at 148. Like historically, these games have all played around 140 the last 2 years, right? Oates, Barnes, pace has been right around 70 possessions, where it's been kind of an in between Tennessee and Alabama's preferred pace. Jim, maybe it's due to the injury concerns with Josiah Jordan-James and Julian Phillips. I don't know. I spent this morning trying to understand what people were seeing with that angle, I guess. So I kind of like the under. That's kind of my square angle. And I guess I'll be a double square and also lean toward Alabama. I know it's an all-time spot for Tennessee, but I just think Alabama's better. So I'll take the 3 points on the road.
No JJJ concerns me. I think that's a real problem. And like you said, Matt, I think impacts the total. Bediako the same way. I mean, he is like the dominant rim protector for them. Clowney's great inside too, but you take away that depth, the 2-headed monster, and maybe you start to see how Tennessee starts to rack up points. You mentioned 3-point regression, and yes, we got to talk about it, Scott. I'm sorry. It is a real phenomenon. Tennessee, no one was making threes against them. And then Kai, last 2 games, combined, Vandy and Mizzou, 24 of 51, 47% from three. It all came in a deluge of regression there against them. Maybe there's still more to come, because honestly, they're still, like Matt said, top 5 in the country in 3-point percentage defense, and Alabama shoots a ton of them. So we'll see how that plays out. I'm kind of with Matt, leaning towards the under and the dog, but I want to wait and see what happens with Bediako and Phillips before I make any wager on the side. Like if Bediako's out and Phillips is in, probably start to lean towards Tennessee at that point. I think both those guys matter to the line. All right, next up, another SEC game. Got a few SEC ones on the outline. Kentucky, Mississippi State coming after chat mob break. Right now, we've got Arkansas at Texas A&M. Matthew, I thought Arkansas is ready to trend up. You get Nick Smith Jr. back. You take on Mississippi State, and you get kind of out physicaled at home. Really disappointing for a team that we saw is playing more bigs now. Arkansas, 2 bigs, just couldn't handle Mississippi State's physicality and couldn't shoot over the top, which is the real issue with this Arkansas team. Now they're getting 4 points on the road at A&M. Matthias, how do you see this one?
Yeah, already beat A&M by 11 not so long ago. That was January 31st, basically 2 weeks ago to the day. Yeah, I mean, I think at least me, I bought into the Arkansas resurgence with the very impressive one at Kentucky, but I think now I've just learned that that's nothing. There's nothing there. In Mississippi State, while we can maybe look at that as a tough, questionable loss, like how good has Stark Vegas been? I think
really
they're winners of 6 straight. So a lot of moving parts here to kind of, normalize what result meant what, how do you assess each of the performances of the last couple of weeks, Kai? I just like A&M here at home. I just think the guard play of A&M, I know they've been a little bit erratic this year, but their depth, I think, can wear Arkansas down. A team that's been brittle in the backcourt and not as deep there. If Musselman can really slow this game down and really play to his strength inside, but A&M's not weak up front at all. I think they can absolutely compete on the glass. They did in that first game. I like A&M here.
Yeah, wow, you're giving up on Arkansas after one game. I mean, Mississippi State's playing as good as anybody right now. Come on, man, have some faith in your Hogs.
They're not my Hogs. Oh, they're not my Hogs. Stop it.
Game 1 was impressive, by the way, but A&M did shoot 58% from the line. That's kind of something that will improve in this game. A&M also needs this game more than Arkansas for the tournament. Amazingly, they might go 11-2 in the SEC and still be on the bubble as of now because of those bad losses early on. Of course, it's a big game for Arkansas as well. They have Nick Smith back in the lineup, extremely huge. I think that's going to help them more so in game 2 than it did in game 1. As he gels more with this lineup and going forward. A&M certainly has an edge on the glass. They controlled it in game 1, and they force you to shoot jumpers, and that's bad for Arkansas, who can't really shoot that well. Again, perhaps Smith being back helps that. Spread honestly feels a touch high to me. I lean towards Arkansas here. Lean towards them, Jim, to complete the sweep or keep it within one possession.
Yeah, I lean towards Arkansas as well. When Nick Smith played back in December or November, first game, 6 minutes, did nothing. Then he had 16, then 22, then 21 points. Like he really figured it out, got into a rhythm. Could see that happening again, Kai, like you said. Second game, maybe a little more rust knocked off of his status. Also, I don't want to give up on Arkansas after that Mississippi State game. Mississippi State was 6 of 10 from 3. Arkansas, while not a good shooting team, was 4 of 18. That's even below their averages. I think you even both of those out. And look, Arkansas wins. We feel pretty good about the Razorbacks right now. So I feel fairly confident Arkansas is going to surge at some point with Smith back in the lineup. Sort of think it starts tonight, but I'm not actually going to bet that one. It's close, but not quite there. All right, Matt, right back to you for your Hoosiers. Indiana on the road at Northwestern, a road favorite of -2.5. I am getting major flashbacks to yesterday when I took Illinois in a road favorite spot, revenge. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what Indiana is here. Tell me why I shouldn't do it again, Matthias.
This is I promise everyone, this is the last time I'll be backing a Big Ten road team. Kai, I think me and you have personally attended 2 of these, maybe 3 of these games at Welsh Shrine where we're like, oh, Indiana's going to mop Northwestern. Half the stadium will be Indiana fans, and that's what it was, but Northwestern has been kind of a house of horrors for the Hoosiers lately. Remember last year they had that weird off the court incident with Xavier Johnson and a few others rumored to have snuck out and gotten some extra kicklers. I kind of think Mike Woodson promptly reminds his younger guys and just team in general that this is a real Northwestern team, just beat Purdue, and they're not to be taken lightly, and maybe to kind of stay in and focus on winning this game. Coming off that Michigan went on the road, which is not great as Michigan's been, still very impressive in this conference. And you got to like the spot here with with Northwestern coming off we are for sure in the tournament win against Purdue. So, Jim, all that is to say famous last words as I will be backing my Hoosiers here tonight.
Yeah, these teams are tied for second in the Big Ten. Do you know that?
Wild.
Two-way tie. It's Northwestern and Indiana. Northwestern off that Purdue win. They've won 3 straight. They look great. Indiana, though, also streaking. They've won 8 of 9. This is a revenge spot, too, for Indiana. They lost at Assembly Hall against Northwestern. Neither team could stop the other one. It was impressive shot making. It was better offense than defense. Indiana turned the ball over 16 times. That's what the Cats pretty much do. 2 teams, especially teams that are missing their starting point guard in Xavier Johnson. I think that's a big factor here. But I agree with Matt. The home court here is still not strong. We've been to these games. Indiana fans are basically 50-50, maybe even a little bit of an advantage towards Indiana. I've not been to a Welsh Ryan game this year. Maybe the Northwestern fans are coming out a little bit more, Matt, of the woodwork with them in tournament play. I think Northwestern has an edge here, forcing turnovers and getting to the free throw line. It's a toss-up for me at the current spread. I'm not going against Big Ten home, Jim, even if it is Northwestern.
Up to 2.5, I missed that, Jim. I thought it was 1.5. So
2.5.
Yeah, it continues to climb.
Yeah, the encouraging part is that Northwestern doesn't have Jalen Pickett, and that is what absolutely demolished my road favorite revenge angle yesterday. But Boo Buie's been pretty darn good himself. He's not Pickett, but he kind of controlled that game against Purdue over the weekend. I think there is some risk of a little bit of an emotional letdown after such a big win on Sunday, and then you turn around and play another monster team in the Big Ten here. But Indiana's been kind of immune to those letdowns. They beat Purdue, and then they beat Rutgers, and then they beat Michigan. Really, really impressive resilience from that squad, and definitely not at full strength either. With Thompson been in and out, Xavier Johnson not quite back yet. Maybe we see him tonight. I don't know. Hard to prognosticate on that. I still lean towards Indiana. I just think they're good, and Northwestern. Smoke and mirrors is probably unfair, but I just think Indiana's the better squad right now. And with that angle of having lost the first time, would lean towards the Hoosiers, not willing to fade Big Ten home teams. All right, last up on the outline before Chat Mob, Kai, up in my city, Milwaukee, Marquette hosting Xavier. It's been bet up to -6 now at BetRivers. People are liking the Golden Eagles at home. There's some injury questions on the Xavier side. What do you got with this one?
Yeah, Xavier hasn't been this big of a dog all too often. 6-point dog. We haven't seen that very much this season, Matt, with Xavier, the way they're playing. They are coming off their worst game of the year. That Butler effort was terrible. They could not play any worse. It was brutal to watch. This game's for first place in the Big East. Marquette is in current sole possession of first place by a half game. Xavier won game 1. It was high level. Both teams scored where and how they wanted to. But Zach Fremantle was in that game. He matters a lot. He was key in game 1, and he improves the Xavier's depth up front. Marquette at home, super dangerous. The spread to me feels a tad high at 6, but I'm not going to fade Marquette at home. Not doing it.
Yeah, it feels high to me too. I guess the concerns are with Sule Boom's ankle. Sounds like he's supposed to play, but I'd be a little bit worried, I guess, if you're getting a less than 100% point guard catalyst. However, there is a double-edged sword there. I think less Boom minutes or no Boom minutes if he does, in fact, not play. Probably more minutes for Jerome Hunter and Desmond Claude, the younger, I think more defensive-oriented guard there. So it actually could help Xavier's perimeter defense, which has been my concern with them as I've watched them this season. So it could be a blessing in disguise. Still, I think, man, Marquette's offense is so tough to defend, and you can't have any issues defensively going up against that juggernaut right now, especially at home. Felt too high to me, but I've been burned by these. It feels too high road dogs in like the 5 to 8 range, where you just have to respect how good Team X has been at home, and Marquette certainly qualifies. So nothing for me here, Jimbo.
Yeah, and Xavier's been pretty poor on the road. Kai mentioned the Butler effort. They also lost at DePaul, got smoked at Creighton. They snuck in a UConn win on the road in there, but they have not been as strong on the road. Other little thing I think worth noticing is they've been playing a lot slower without Fremantle. You look at their tempo from early Big East, it's like 77, 72, 80, 74. Now recent games, 70, 73, 72 in overtime. That's actually a pretty slow game. 68, 70. The last 10 minutes of this meeting, the first game was like weirdly stuck in the mud. They had their 92 points in the first half, Marquette and Xavier in Cincinnati, and then ended up going under. The total opened 9 points below KenPom, 159. KenPom has it 168. It's been bet up 3 or 4. I kind of like coming in on the under at this point, especially what Matt said about Boom possibly being limited and playing more of a bigger lineup there. Oh, it's scary to take an under in a Marquette game, but
it's also crazy to see a total open 9 points off from KenPom.
yep.
So
Yep. So
Market
we will
sharp these
see.
days.
I think,
February.
the odds makers are on to the fact that they're playing slower.
certainly better than me.
Darn
Yep.
you. Darn you, odds makers. All right, let's get to Chat Mob part 1. Kai, we're going to you, my czar.
Let's do it. From Ethan is going to tip us off with some Valley action. Missouri State and Bradley. Bradley's a 10-point favorite at home. Jim, their home rocks, but boy, 10 points. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Missouri State really mucks games up. That's been their whole thing this year is let's get it slow, gruesome in the weeds. Bradley's kind of comfortable doing that, though. I am not fading home Bradley. They have been a real juggernaut at home. I don't have the home ATS number in front of me, but they've been really good.
Yeah, Bradley Drake, winner of that conference tournament, will be a 1-game winner in the tournament. That's my hot take. I love both those teams. Continue. Sorry.
You get the Mountain West game, Matthew. Boise on the road at Colorado State. Some in the chat think this line is way too short. Boise's only a 3-point favorite on the road. Your thoughts?
Colorado State getting healthier. They have one of those guards back tonight, I believe, correct?
Jackson and Lake. I don't know if
Jackson. I think Jackson's coming back.
What is this, an intersection in downtown Chicago, Kai? Jackson and Lake.
It's good, Jim. I've given up tracking the Colorado State injury situation. I kind of agree with the chat though. Even if both of those guys are back, you're basically like, okay, they're back. So now Colorado State will be back to the team we thought they were. They haven't really been that. So I would lean Boise, even though.
Ooh, Kai, I found the Bradley home numbers. They're 11-2 against the spread with a, wait for it, plus 11 cover margin. Average.
They're stupid
plus
good at home.
11 in over 13 different games. They're covering by an average of 11. That's nuts.
Brian Wardle has specifically called out how good the fans have been this season. If that tickles your fancy at all. Jim, East Carolina is hosting Cincinnati. Cincinnati is laying 9.5 points on the road at the Pirates.
Yeah, East Carolina has really trailed off without Javon Small. Like that has been a major problem for them to not have him leading the charge offensively. Also kind of makes me like the under here, Matt. I can't lay 9.5 on the road despite Cincy playing better. Victor Lockins also banged up for them, and I think he matters a fair amount. So lean towards the under, Kai, but not going to bet aside.
Yep. Matthew, Patriot League for you. Colgate, this is from Harry, one of his 3 questions. Colgate -12 at home against Army. I think there's some Army backers in the chat. What do you think?
Yeah, I kind of like the troops here. I mean, Colgate, again, talked about it, tough team to fade. And the Patriot, they seem to just put the hurt on everyone, but they've played close games in this conference. They've not been completely invincible. Still, I'd tread lightly. Army small would be my recommendation. Very small.
I'm having trouble finding this one, so we're going to skip it. Pat, St. Bonaventure and Fordham. Jim, you get this question. Fordham is laying 5, I think, at home. 4.5.
Yeah, a combination of a team that's really good at home, Fordham, 11-6 against the spread at home, and then St. Bonaventure has been nowhere near the same team away from Olean. I kind of lean towards Fordham there, Kai. I think this is actually like a really good Ram squad that can taste a double bye in the A10 tournament. Wow, can you believe that?
Ton of Bonnie's money. Open 7 down to 4.5. Ooh, so people betting against that, Jim.
Yeah, well,
and 7?
That is down to 4.5 now.
7 was pretty high.
That's not.
Yeah, that was high.
Matthew, from Michael, you get Ole Miss and Florida. Little Todd Golden chat in the chat here. Florida is laying 10 at home against a bad Ole Miss team. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it's going to have to be a Virginia crock-pot cover if Florida's going to cover that number. It's just not all the way there offensively, but they can absolutely defend. I don't see how Mississippi scores more than 50 points in this game, to be honest. I lean Gators, but too many delay with the team who I just don't trust offensively.
Jim, back in the Patriot, Holy Cross, +2.5 at home against BU. If I remember correctly, Holy Cross beat BU in game 1, but my memory's escaping me. Your thoughts?
Yeah, BU's coming off a pretty solid win over American that I think surprised us. We had an Action Network pick on American. We did not get that correct. But I think Holy Cross is pretty feisty. Weirdly, they've been almost feistier on the road, though. I don't think their home court really provides much. There's not much travel in this league. Another one where their home court is not as strong as somewhere like the Big Ten. So, Kai, I'm sitting that one out. I don't have anything super opinionated.
From On Point, I'll field this one. Northern Iowa is hosting Drake. Spreads down to 5.5. Come down a little bit. Money for you and I. I lean towards the Panthers. They have lost 5 straight, and Drake is rolling, but they're much better at home. And game 1 went double overtime. UNI was up by 11 in the second half. I think they can get it done here. It's a big rivalry in state. These teams usually split the series during the season, so lean towards Panthers there.
Getting a good price now, too, Kai. 6.5. Nice.
5.5 at BetRivers. Come down from 6.5, Matthew.
Oh, well, we'll buy back on Mr. McKeon's side.
Exactly. Yes. Mm-hmm. Matthew, you get a Missouri Valley game. Murray State, not a good road team. They're +1. They're on the road at Illinois State. Your thoughts?
Yeah, look at Murray State's last 3 games. I've given up 92, 91, and
Awful.
80 something.
Yes.
I mean, defensively just horrible. And like you look on paper, never supposed to be a good defensive team. It's really starting to come unraveled. I guess I lean ISU, right? Especially because they are at home and Murray State's on the road.
Yeah, Murray State 3-9 against the spread on the road, -8 cover margin. Like they get smacked a lot.
And they might just be broken now, as Matt mentioned. They've gotten just slayed last 3 games.
Defensively horrid, man.
All right, Jim, let's go back to the rundown. Got the rest of the questions holstered.
All righty, back to the rundown, coming out of it with an SEC tilt. Kentucky at Mississippi State. Mississippi State laying 3 here against Big Blue Nation. I was actually on a radio show earlier today, and Matt, the host, made an interesting point that Kentucky has been better against teams with poor offenses because you're not taking advantage of what has been some defensive leaks for Kentucky, especially with Oscar defending in space. Mississippi State, definitely not a good offensive team here. Before we discuss that, though, Matt, I want to bring up a little fun prop that BetRivers has put out there. This UK team right by the bubble, as is North Carolina, there's a wager +900 for them both to miss the tournament. They're combined 1-15 against Q1 opponents. It's not outrageous. I'm a little bit tempted by it. I think it's going to be tough to get those brand names out of there and not put them in Dayton and get ratings that first night. But man, both those profiles are pretty empty. It's at least worth a look if you're interested in that. But Matt, back to this game tonight, Kentucky and Mississippi State. What do you think?
No, I'd say, I mean, North Carolina's probably on the right side of the bubble and UK's on the wrong side, but you net it out, they're probably both coin flips. So 25% chance. They're a pretty good odd boost at that. I would suggest indulging. This is my best bet, and I am going to endorse this odds boost even further because I think the Cats lose tonight. Mississippi State beats them, not emphatically because this Chris Jans team is not a put you away and score 80 and run you out of the gym, but I do think they hold Kentucky to under 55 points tonight, somewhere in that range. And I think they get this done. Trending back up, as we talked about earlier, they had some issues offensively. They've seemed to have corrected that to some degree. You're right, Jim. I don't know if they have all of the tools to really exploit how bad Sheway's been in ball screen and some of the other holes that have emerged, but I think they're good enough. And I think they're definitely good enough to keep this Kentucky offense in a shell, Mr. McKeon. So I'm going to lay 3 here with the home fighting Chris Jans as Stark Vegas.
Yeah, absolute must win for Kentucky after the Georgia loss. They are, Matt, as you mentioned, they're on the outside of bracket matrix looking into the tournament. Kind of crazy. CJ Frederick, Severe Wheeler, probably still out in this game. I think CJ Frederick matters a ton. Depth and most importantly, shooting. You can't score inside against Mississippi State. It's very tough to do that. They need shooters. Kentucky is a good shooting team, but Frederick's a big part of that. And Miss State's rolling, man. They've played their way into the field. They're currently an 11 seed, 5 straight wins right now. Their defense, again, no joke. And they will force Kentucky to be a jump shooting team without Frederick. Sheboy, I think, can handle his own against anybody, but Mississippi State does have a lot of size. They do well rebounding as a team, as is Chris Jan's coaching style. Their offense, of course, not anything special. Kentucky probably holds their own that end. One team, Jim, I perceive as tough, and that's Mississippi State. And one team I perceive as soft, despite having Oscar Sheboy. I don't know why I have that in my head, but that's kind of what I've seen from these games. The spread's right. I don't know. I kind of lean towards Kentucky, actually, Matt, but it's crazy to think they lose again, right?
Yeah, last 2 Kentucky performances certainly feel soft, Kai. I'll give you that. What they've done against Georgia and Arkansas, really, really poor, especially like you should start to feel back against the wall and they don't have the same desperation you'd like to see them have. And all the Kentucky fans, Kai, for a while, it was, well, Xavier Wheeler's the problem. Well, he didn't play against Georgia and you still lost. So you got to find a new punching bag. I guess it's just Cal. That's kind of what it's been for them. You mentioned they can shoot. They don't like to shoot. 3-point attempt rate's really low. They just make some when they do. Reeves and Case and Wallace can shoot. But that's not really their go-to. They take a lot of mid-range jumpers. I don't know. I think that's a bad recipe against this defense. I kind of like Matt's matchup angle there.
Worth noting real quick here, don't watch this game if you're going to back on Mississippi State. I know it's a big Blue Nation game, so you'll probably have your eyeballs on it if you're a college hoops fan. 26% from 3-point range in conference play, 57% from free throw line are the Bulldogs. So not great.
All right, next up, TCU at Iowa State. And folks, then we're going to get into a little mid-major fun to end the show. TCU at Iowa State, though, here. Kai, big injury questions on the TCU side. Do we have a Mike Miles return or not? That knee hyperextension was pretty gruesome, but apparently he looked really good in practice yesterday. On the other side, hard to figure out what's going on with Iowa State right now, losing at home.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you make of these two teams that both could really use a win?
Yeah, obviously, if Miles is back, huge. The line's going to move. But is he going to be 100%? He might still be limited. It's a question mark. And Hilton Magic is tough place to play. Iowa State, you're right. They lost to Oklahoma State at home. That was surprising. I don't see them doing it twice in a row. And TCU, Matt, without Miles, if he's out, they've struggled. They've been competitive, but they can't close games. If you count Mississippi State, the game he went down, they're 1-4 against the spread and straight up. It's a problem without Miles. And of course, Iowa State, what do? They force turnovers. They're really tough on defense. In the first game, they forced 18, and Miles was in the lineup. Clones won that first game without Kuntz at TCU. They scored at will off penetration. Their guards got in the lane. They're very good at that. And second chance opportunities. A little surprising. They crushed Lampkin and company on the glass in game one. Just a tougher team. I think they're just too tough at home. If Miles is out, I lean towards Iowa State.
Yeah, we'll see what the whole Miles Lampkin thing, how that materializes. I just don't play this game. I think there's just too many moving parts here. There's two teams that are in kind of bad form. You have another team that could get two key players back. Are they going to be effective? Are they going to be like fully back to their old selves with the reintegration? I don't know. Yeah, I'll leave it at that, Jim. I think this is like the biggest stay away on the board tonight. That's all. So.
Yeah, I kind of buy that. I think Miles is going to play, but I'm very curious to see how it's worded if it's announced. Like if they say we'll give it a go the way they've been doing with Lampkin, I wouldn't touch him. Don't play him if it's not. He feels great, looks great. Let's just let him go. Like if he's not 100%, it would be silly to put him out there. I do have some concerns with fading Iowa State off the home loss. There's too much pull in both directions here. I like TC with Miles, but not really in this spot. So I'm going to stay away too, Matt. I think that's probably wise. All right, now we go to two very big mid-major matchups here. Out in the Big West, UC Irvine at UC Santa Barbara. Santa Barbara currently up by 1 game right now on Irvine. So if Irvine gets a road win here, they'll be tied atop the league. They'll have split the regular season series. Big one. Kai, going to you first here. The Gaucho is laying 2.5. It's a blue out in Santa Barbara. Whole lot of blue going to be in the arena here. Which way are you leaning?
Are they different blues? They've always struck me as kind of the same blue, Irvine and Barbara. Irvine, it's like, Matt, did you know there's a Northwestern?
UCB's a lighter blue, I think. Go ahead.
Irvine's more dark.
Yes, yeah. Northwestern did a blackout against Purdue, and there was some like funny, like, what are you doing? Purdue's
that's
black.
stupid.
Yeah, but anyways, Santa Barbara's the class of this league right now. They're by far the most talented team. On paper, no one even comes close talent-wise. They beat Irvine game 1 on the road by 8. 1.11 points per possession. They're bigger, they're stronger, they're more talented, and they're at home in this game. Now, Irvine does have Loicton back in the lineup. That's huge. He was out against Barbara in game 1. But Kelly and Norris, that's a tough duo up front for Barbara. I still think they have an advantage inside. The travel here, Matt, is pretty light. What's Jim doing? Yes.
I just remembered that Kelly's probably suspended because he got in a fist fight at the end of the last game.
Yep. Oh, we don't know though. Is he suspended?
No, it's confirmed.
Rocky Miller says he is suspended.
Okay.
Well, that changes everything. I lean towards Barbara, but with Kelly out, I would lean towards Irvine.
I'm in on Irvine here. Yeah, you got Kai. Say his name.
Baines Leuchten.
He's back, baby, without Kelly up front to neutralize. And I think their other big guy is out too. So yeah,
Norris?
UCSB basically. No, Norris is in. So Norris is their only big up front. I think Irvine actually has an advantage. Like they have the advantage they've usually had historically against UCSB with Kelly out. I think they'll play to that. And their guards have been kind of the story all year, carrying them with that unreal shot making. Some might say unsustainable. I just think those guys are good. I think Irvine's the play here. I'm kind of going back to the old Russell Turner against Joe Pasternak storylines, narratives, whatever. I like Irvine here. I think they get this done. Without Kelly coming off that weird brawl, I like the Eaters.
Yeah, Loicton missed like 8 games, and they're still number 1 in the Big West in 2-point percentage defense. Like Russell Turner just manufactures these really tough to score against defenses in the paint. Without Kelly, it's going to be even harder to score in the paint. Tough to contain Loicton. Yeah, man. No Kelly, I think really swings this and tilts me towards Irvine in this one. Probably a slight coaching edge there for Turner as well. All right, last one. SoCon. 3-way tie atop the league right now between Furman, Greensboro, and Samford. And now we've got UNC Greensboro and Samford facing off here. Big one. It is a pick'em, basically a coin flip from the odds makers. Matthew, Samford is a little healthier. Quez Glover's in there. He hasn't totally catapulted the offense the way we thought he might. But man, you're going to need him against Greensboro's fantastic half-court defense. What are you liking with this one?
Yeah, Greensboro beat Samford. I'm sorry, Samford beat Greensboro at home. Now Samford back at home, one of the better home courts in the SoCon. Man, this is a toss-up. I think the line's pretty good. I think it's probably the second best stay away on the card for me here, Kai. I like that Samford can handle Greensboro's pressure, but Greensboro's really kind of making their new identity around their physicality and size. But I think Samford has that this year too. It's not like a team that's overly wing and guard laden. Like they can compete up front on the glass. I think it's just a well-rounded, very deep roster, multiple guys at each position. Props to our guy Bucky McMillan. It's got it going down there after the non-con swoon. I'd lean their way, but tough to say. It's hard to see Samford sweeping the mighty Spartans and Mike Jones this year.
Yeah, both teams 12-2, right? Tied atop the SoCon, Jim mentioned with Furman. Samford did win at Greensboro in game 1 without Glover, but since then, Greensboro has been a whole different team. They're 9-1 straight up, 6-4 against the spread, but still, I've been impressed with this team. Their defense is nails. Number 1 in both 3-point and 2-point percentage defense. They do send guys to the line a lot, but so does Samford. I think that's kind of a wash when you look at both teams matchup-wise. I just like how Greensboro's been playing better. They have to protect the ball. They have to keep Samford out of transition. I think they can. It's a good revenge game here. I'm leaning towards Greensboro.
I don't have a strong take, Matthew. I love your stay away here. I think this board's or the board's really tough today. Got a best bet, of course, but these headliner games, I don't have a super strong opinion. A little bit of a lean towards Samford, maybe. I think they're more talented. Matt, like you said, Logan Dye has given them like a true interior presence.
Yeah,
less guard chucking with Glover and Parham than I kind of thought they would be. So impressed there.
Quick final ad, maybe the over. Greensboro scored 90 points 2 straight games. The Brown Jones, the VCU transfer has been awesome. Just
my numbers lean towards the over, Matthew. So I could get on board there. I could get on
that
board.
little intersection weave agreement. That's always a lock, baby.
Yeah, I love that.
Thanks, Campbell.
All right, let's go back to Chat Mob. Kai, you are in charge. What else we have?
All right, let's go to Taylor with VCU and Rhode Island. I'm actually going to take this one, guys. I weirdly lean towards Rhode Island. It's a really tough place to play, number 1. Number 2, Brand Freeman off the team now. On the surface, that seems like a huge deal. He was probably their best player, most talented. I think it's a good thing. For chemistry issues, clearly was something wrong in the program. Teams tend to play a lot better when a guy like that leaves. And again, they have a strong home court. I lean towards Rhode Island. It's gross, just a lean.
Yeah, I mean, he's had 4 straight games O-rating sub 90 and clearly probably causing chemistry issues too. I could see that being addition by subtraction.
Matt, you get a Pac-12 game. Oregon is on the road at Washington. 5.5 point spread. Washington is a dog.
I don't know. Oregon could win by 15. They could lose by 15. Money's coming big on Oregon. I guess I can see why. It's still not all the way sold on Oregon is like let's put all our chips back in yet. So not quite there.
They completely gagged away a big chance against UCLA at home last weekend. So yeah, don't trust them.
Next game's from Ryan. We have the beach, Jim, traveling to Riverside. Boy, Riverside's been kind of crappy since Owens has been hurt out of the lineup. Can't find information on him. Don't know. Riverside's laying 1 at home.
Yeah, it's also pretty shocking to see a Riverside total in the 150s. That's not very usual for them, but Beach kind of just sucks you into those up and down games. Even without Joel Murray, they have been a point explosion type of squad. So maybe a slight lean towards the over there. I don't want to bet Riverside without Owens, though. Beach has shown more competence without their big piece that's injured than Riverside has. So lean towards Beach.
Matthew from Joey, Indiana State at UIC. Indiana State minus 10.5 point favorites on the road.
I like Indiana State first half. This is usually my Indiana State angle in general. I know these teams have already played once this year, correct? So you think Mr. Yaklich would have his team ready to go against that tough to prepare for offense. I just don't think they're that good. And I think Indiana State has, while picked off a pretty good schedule, they're just playing a little better. So I like the Sycamores.
A TCU blog is reporting that Miles is probably back in, but Baugh might be out for a little bit. So
huge.
TCU just can't get it right, man.
Tough.
Joey, excuse me, Matthew, not you, Matthew, the other Matthew in the chat, asks about Fullerton and UC San Diego. I'll kick it to Jim here, and I'll give you a spread, which is 3.5. Just start talking about it. 3.5.
I think I know what it is. I think it's UC San Diego getting 3.5, and that is the most nightmarish spread you could bet in the world. UC San Diego getting 3.5. They have had some horrific beats getting that number this season. I know that is like not a predictable or a predictive type of thing. I just can't get down with it. My number definitely leans towards UC San Diego here. I've been kind of lower in Fullerton than the market all season, but Kai, taking 3.5 with them. No thanks.
Matthew, you get Presbyterian and High Point, a lovely matchup. Two of your favorite teams in the country.
Yep.
Presbyterian's -1 against High Point.
I like the under. Just in general, this conference tends to suck you into the 50s, and I think High Point's willing to do that because they're just trying to do anything to fix their terrible start to conference play. Presbyterian will dictate the tempo. I think it plays low 60s. I like the under.
Finally, Jim, before we go to the best bets here, unless I missed something, Davidson at SLU. Davidson is +6 on the road.
I believe SLU has kind of owned Davidson recently. Matt, what did you just yell into the ether?
Pass. Please pass.
Okay.
Hard pass.
I kind of like SLU there. They won by 4 on the road. I think they're just kind of a matchup issue for Davidson. Yuri Collins can break down 1v1 any of those Davidson guards. They don't have the athleticism to stay in front of him. Then you get open jumpers. We'll see if the home court plays up there, but it'd be SLU or nothing for me.
At the buzzer here, Scott, St. Joe's, Duquesne. I lean towards St. Joe's, +7. Been really impressed with their guard play this season, especially recently. So yeah, lean their way, +7. All right, let's go best bets, boys. Matthew, start us off.
Best bets. I'm trying to find an updated number here. Give me a second. 3, 2, 1. It's still -3. Just confirming yesterday is -3. Mississippi State laying a field goal. Kentucky. Sorry, John Cal. This is your last hurrah, and it continues tonight. So also, reminder, check out that odds boost that Jim mentioned, betting on the UNC Tar Heels and Kentucky to both miss a tournament at +900 by my back of the napkin math. That's pretty good value. And I think that value will only improve tonight with a loss. So get it in now, Jim.
Yeah, that's what we say with futures, right? You want to time it right. And if this one, Kentucky loses, that might go to +700 or something.
A lot of good seed lines coming out in BetRivers soon, like over-under seedings.
Yep.
Usually good ones to pick off.
Maybe on a slow Monday show, we'll break down some of those.
Sure, after we get our bets in. No, just kidding.
Kai, your best bet.
My best bet, Virginia, -16 is my best bet at BetRivers. Crockpot game, man. I think they're going to extend this lead over the full 40. Slowly build the lead until they eventually blow Louisville out. Number 1 turnover rate defense versus the worst turnover team in the ACC. They have one guard, Louisville, Ellis. It's not enough against this Virginia defense. Their only path to scoring is by chucking from 3. Now, they're not shooting a terrible percentage, but it's not a good way to beat Virginia. I think they have a tough time scoring in general. I think Virginia scores at will with their cutting, their action off screens and the mover blocker, and their action off ball screens as well. So Virginia, -16.
Yeah, that feels like the perfect. Louisville gets annoyed they can't score, so they stop playing defense too, and it just snowballs down. My best bet is an under. Stetson, Florida Gulf Coast, under 141.5. Two really, really slow teams. Stetson loves to park it in the half court. Gulf Coast is doing that even more and more. Of course, the efficiency is a concern. Stetson is lethal from 3. Gulf Coast is relatively comfortable giving up triples. That's a problem. But there's also a weird matchup angle here where they play again this weekend. So maybe they don't show their full hands. They don't want to go get up and down at all since they've got to play again. Run it back on Saturday. I'll take under 141.5 Stetson, Florida Gulf Coast. All right, that is it. That's it for today on our Wednesday show. We'll be back Thursday tomorrow, same time, 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central, 10 a.m. Pacific. Matt's going to be in Pacific time zone soon, so he's got to take notes on that. Just gallivanting around our great country. But like I said, we'll be back tomorrow. Good luck with your bets tonight. Cheers. See you.